Good morning. Today is Friday, January 10th, 2025. Today is the fast day of Asara B'Teves, the 10th day of Teves, which we discussed yesterday. This Shabbos, in the synagogue, we read the Parsha VaYechi, and that is the final Torah portion in the Book of Bereishit, the first of the 5 books of the Torah. And in the synagogue this Shabbos, like every Shabbos where we finish one of the 5 books of the Torah, we have the following practice, and that is when the reader who's reading from the Torah finishes the last line of the book, the entire congregation is standing, and the entire congregation says out loud the words, Chazak, Chazak, v'nischazek, which means, let us be strong, and let us strengthen others as well. Now, just a kind of a detail of this, the correct procedure is that the person who is having the aliyah at that time, standing next to the reader, should not be saying those words out loud. It's only the congregation that says those words out loud, and then after the congregation finishes, then the reader and the person who has the aliyah should then repeat those words, Chazak, Chazak, v'nischazek. The idea of this is that we're in the synagogue. By finishing this Torah portion, we have reached a milestone. We've finished studying together the first book of the Torah, and it is a way to give a blessing to all of us who are studying the Torah together in the synagogue, that we have all reached this milestone. And it's a very beautiful thing. A version of this phrase has become very, very popular in Israel and around the Jewish world since October 7th of last year. And this phrase is Bati l'chazek v'yatzati mitchazek. I came to strengthen, to encourage, to inspire, and I left strengthened, inspired. And this has been going on thousands and thousands and thousands of times in all kinds of situations. A person, Nebuch, God forbid, will visit someone who's sitting Shiva, and they expect to be able to give comfort to the mourners. And then they come and they hear the stories of heroism of the person who, God forbid, passed away. And they hear the strength of the family. And they came to give comfort, and they come away comforted. They came to give strength, and they come away feeling strengthened and inspired by what they heard. People go to visit someone who was wounded, and they're coming to give strength, they're coming to inspire, they're coming to comfort, to help that person. And then they see this person's attitude. And they see this person's tremendous desire and happiness over serving the state of Israel and sacrificing whatever they sacrificed. And people who come away strengthened and inspired. Bati l'chazek, I came to help you. V'yatzati mitchazek, and I left having been helped by you. Sivan Rahav Meir reports about a young man a number of months ago. His name is Jonathan Ben Chamo. And he lost his leg in a battle in Gaza. And he is in a rehabilitation center like so many thousands of Israelis are. He lost his leg. And he lost his arms. And a group of people came to visit him. And he said to them, you know the phrase, Bati l'chazek v'yatzati mitchazek? He said, this is what I do here as the new patients come in. Having just been wounded, I've been here a while. And as people come to visit me, I try to help the people that come to visit me to understand how proud I am to have sacrificed for my country, for my people. To those who are new patients, I try to inspire them. Yes, it's hard, but you can do it. I'm doing it, and you can do it, and it may seem impossible now, but you can do it. And he said, I'm already waiting to get the prosthetics for my hands so I can hug my children. And Sivan Rahab Meir points out that these sentences, these expressions represent a great spirit of the injured, and I mean grievously injured, those whose lives will never be the same due to their injuries. And also of their families. And certainly those who, God forbid, their lives have been taken. There's a lot of difficulty and there's a lot of pain. But along with that, so often we find a love of life and hope and humor. And there is such truth to this expression, Bati l'chazek v'yatzati mitchazek. I mentioned last night that we're learning more about what the hostages in Gaza are going through, have gone through. And it's so unbelievably terrible. We pray every minute, every day for their release, for them to come home. And slowly, gradually now, we're learning more and more because I understand that it takes time. It takes time for those who have gone through this trauma, let's say even the group that was released last November. But they suffered tremendous, unbelievable trauma during their experience. And it takes time for those to process what happened to them, to be able to tell us. And even what they tell us at first may be very little, and then only later are they able to tell us more and more. And for some, of course, they will not be able to tell us. And that's to be understood. But just last week, there was something incredible, an incredible interview. Now, it was published in the Jerusalem Post, but it was reprinted from TBN. TBN is a Christian network. And it was an interview with Sapir Cohen. Perhaps you saw this. Just absolutely incredible. Sapir Cohen was kidnapped on October 7th from Kibbutz Nir Oz, the site of such destruction and pain and loss. She was kidnapped on October 7th. She spent 55 days in captivity. And again, Suffering is not a competition, it's a club, as my daughter said. And finally, last week, she gave this interview. She said that she, Sapir, and her partner, Alex Trufanoff, they were hiding from the terrorists in the kibbutz. And she thought about trying to send messages to her family, but she didn't want to communicate. She didn't want to communicate something that sounded like she was saying goodbye. And the two of them were kidnapped. The terrorists came into their house. They destroyed the house. They kidnapped the two of them. As I said, Sapir Cohen was released last November. Alex Trufanoff is still being held hostage in Gaza. On the 20-minute motorcycle ride to Gaza, and we saw those videos of terrorists taking terrified hostages on motorcycles and vehicles back to Gaza. So she says, Sapir says, on the 20-minute motorcycle ride to Gaza, she said various people tried to stop the bike to beat her. And once in Gaza, the streets were filled with thousands of civilians who tried to beat her. She said in Gaza, she saw various other hostages. I remember I saw the other hostages, and one of them had just laid down and he closed his eyes. He couldn't be part of this reality. I saw a young girl that was shaking. And I saw people that all their families were in the kibbutz that day and they didn't know what happened to their children, to their parents. And when I saw them, it reminded me of my last wish when I was under the bed hiding from the terrorists, knowing that at any moment they would find her. And she said, God, please help me. She said, because I feel that all my life I didn't do anything meaningful. And my last chance, she says, God, I want my last chance. I want a last chance to do something meaningful in life. And she said to herself, it's really bad here in captivity. It's really bad. But this is the place where I can be the most meaningful person. And I just need to choose that. Listen. To choose to be the most meaningful person. I just need to choose that I want to help the hostages. And I need to choose that to continue my life. That's what she thought about it as soon as she got there. And when she decided to take that responsibility, Sapir explained that she felt more power, again, as a hostage in Gaza, but she felt more power. She stopped thinking of things outside of captivity. She was only thinking about the moment she was in and how she could possibly help someone else. Just incredible. When she was being led underground into tunnels with some of the other captives, a young girl who was also a hostage, approached Cohen. And she said, I don't want to go down there. It's too scary. The tunnels were dark, moldy, wet, full of lice and bed bugs. So Sapir said to this young girl, listen to this. She said to this young girl, what do you mean? Of course you want to go down there. This is the number one attraction in Gaza. And this girl said to me, Sapir, you're crazy. But maybe I want to be crazy like you. And so they went into the tunnels, And it's a dark place. And we were scared. But Sapir says, I kept saying, wow, what a wonderful place. What a great place to be. The number one attraction in Gaza. Here we are. Sapir says that her belief in God helped her in her time as a hostage, because God does not say that I will get everything I want, and God does not say that I will be happy all the time. But God promises me just one thing, that behind everything that happens, there is a purpose. And I just thought about that all the time. If I need to be in the tunnels, I will be in the tunnels. And I will try to do the best I can there. Sapir needed strength. And she found it by giving strength to others. Chazak, chazak, v'nis chazek. My friends, this Shabbos, as I mentioned last night, we will learn and say and pray and sing the words of Yaakov, where Yaakov, as I said last night, specifically foreseeing these hostages in Gaza, said the words, V'yidgu l'rov b'kerev ha'aretz. May God allow you to flourish, to survive and to flourish, and to come home from inside the earth, from underneath the earth, from the tunnels. That's our prayer this week. And may God allow it to come true soon. Because for these strong, brave individuals, we don't know how much time they have left. My friends, I wish you a meaningful Shabbos, a meaningful day of fasting, Asara B'Teves. And I look forward to seeing you soon in person.